Good afternoon, and welcome to another exciting edition of Wednesday One Thing. I am, of course, joined again by one of my favorite coworkers here at Clearbanc, Hamza. How are you doing today, man?
Hey, Maury. Thanks for that title. I'm doing very well. What about yourself?
I'm doing great. I have a really exciting story for you this week, and this is one that it's been blowing up in the news. It sort of tangentially touches e-commerce, and the reason I wanted to bring it up was I think it's a topic that a lot of people are trying to figure out what this all means. But the topic today is all about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. This has been in the news because people like Gary Vee, Mark Cuban, all the crypto people are getting really excited and hyped about this new sort of asset on the blockchain. But not a lot of people really understand what it is. And from our point of view, if it even has any implications for e-commerce. So we talk a lot about what's going on in the here and now with e-commerce, like shipping costs or referral programs. But we also like to look a little bit into the future as to what could be coming down the pipe for a lot of these companies. So right off the bat, Hamza, do you know anything about NFTs? Have you seen anything about NFTs in the news, or is right now the first time you've ever even heard the word being uttered?
So I've heard about NFTs with some frequency over the past, I'm going to say, month or so. But yeah, no, I'll be honest, I don't have too much of an understanding about NFTs, and it is a bit of a murky world for me.
Okay, well, we have essentially 10 minutes to explain this whole conundrum and even tie it back to e-commerce. So we're going to do our best. So bear with me here. And Hamza, if you have any questions, like chime in and ask me, and I will be your Sherpa through this brave new world. So at the front of the story here is that this company, NBA, you might have heard about the NBA, they recently started a new initiative with a blockchain company here in Canada. It's a company that is they actually started this thing called CryptoKitties, which was a trading platform for cartoon kitties. But the NBA's really interesting idea was, why not jump on the craze of tradable and collectible cards and package these individual NBA moments and sell those as moments. And so the reason why blockchain is necessary here is because if you have just one trading card and you want to sell that, it's very obvious who owns that trading card. I have it, I give it to you, now you own it. But on the internet, you have this thing where you can take a screenshot of something, you can save a file. So what the blockchain here is trying to get around is making sure everyone knows exactly who owns what at any given time. So if I own this digital playing card and I want to transfer the ownership to someone, I can use the blockchain to essentially assign that ownership. That's really the high level of what these NFTs are. But the really interesting reason why they're in the news is just how popular they've become. So just over like a 24-hour period, NBA Top Shot attracted like 33,000 new users. Over the past 30 days, they've done over $106 million in sales alone, just on digital goods, which is pretty remarkable. And so the question I want to ask you, Hamza, is in terms of like physical goods and trading, like, have you ever come across people who are really excited about even like collectibles or trading?
Of course I have, and I think the first thing that comes to mind when you explain NFTs is would be art. Selling and trading art over the internet, selling and trading collectibles over the internet sounds like a pretty obvious application of NFTs. Certainly, given the fact that once an image of a piece of art is on the internet, it really just belongs to everybody, and potentially NFTs have the chance to change that and shift the balance of power in the favor of the creators and the artists, if I'm getting this right.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly spot on. And that's why people are so excited about this technology. And it's not just about the collection of physical assets. It is also about attribution, and artists certainly, they can mint their art onto the blockchain, and they can have more control over who buys it, when it sells, and collecting ongoing commissions from it. So the reason why, this is like a piece of technology that I think is very far into the future and sort of requires people to adopt it. The reason why I think it's interesting for e-commerce, and now is where I want you to sort of put on your thinking cap and understand like what this use case could be for e-commerce companies, is we have a lot of companies that sell physical goods. So if you're an apparel company, you sell a piece of clothing, the user uses it, they have a really nice interaction with it, perfect. You have a company that sells perhaps art, or you have a company that sells all these things, but after that first purchase, you're essentially requiring people to either come back for more, and that's really the end of their experience with you if you can even get them that first purchase. So I'm curious, in your expert wisdom and just thinking into the future, like how can an e-commerce company think about NFTs and what potential use cases there for this really popular technology for an e-commerce company?
Yeah, great question, Maury. I think, I mean, it remains to be seen how quickly NFTs get adopted by founders and what impact it really ends up having on e-commerce. The immediate impact of it, well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is just the fact that so many more verticals and so many more areas that founders aren't really selling so much in, on e-commerce will be expanded into. So as I think we spoke about, art and collectibles come to mind. The thing with art and collectibles is historically they've been a lot less scalable. Obviously, that's where the value lies, I guess. And I'm not sure if NFTs make them more scalable, but they certainly do make them more accessible. And ultimately, I mean, the reason e-commerce has seen such a rise, apart from the 12 months of COVID, is because things we buy online, things we buy in Arizona or in Vancouver are just so much more accessible to us now because of the way the logistics of deliveries are set up and how quickly we can get access to those products. I think NFTs really make a big difference there for certain market segments and certain verticals. So I am very excited to see how this would impact people making creative content. I mean, of course, you're right. Most of the D2C brands we work with would be selling things like apparel or physical objects that are mass produced and then sold online. But I've also spoken to a lot of founders who are making creative content like comic books, making creative content like educational videos, artwork. These are all things that are maybe less. Let's just say, there's not so much of an easy template for these companies to follow when it comes to really scaling and growing as an e-commerce company. So really interesting implications. And yeah, I mean, thanks so much for enlightening me about what NFTs really are, because it's got my mind working on a few different applications for e-commerce.
Well, think about this. Like when I saw this piece of technology, my mind for e-commerce went to this use case. So there was a very popular thing when we were in the old office with Monster. Like everyone would drink Monsters, and you were actually able to collect the little tabs of the Monster cans. And if you had enough of those tabs, you could mail them into Monster, and they would send you back merchandise. My head for these NFTs sort of goes towards like a collection points program where I buy a good, I can create my non-fungible token that I purchased the good, and that goes into my my profile for that company as a reward. And after a certain amount of time, they can verify that I have purchased these goods and not secondhand, and I can redeem those for actual product or discounts. I think that's like the future use case of something like this for e-commerce. I'll throw it back to you for the last word if you think that makes sense, or if there's any connection else you can see.
Nope, that makes a lot of sense. And as for more connections that I can see, I'll think about them over the next week, and we can certainly touch on this again the next Wednesday. One thing.
Perfect. Yeah, I think if you're an e-commerce company out there and you're a future thinker and you have an idea of how NFTs can be used for e-commerce, like a rewards program, like a digital good connection to your physical good, let us know. Drop it in the comments. This is a technology that I think will be around for a while, and we'll be tracking it very heavily here. So thank you guys for joining us. If you have any other questions about anything technology, e-commerce, or NFTs, feel free to shoot it our way, and we'll talk to you next week. Cheers.